Speaking of kissless, so we're talking about cruelty, and I've been thinking about this a lot, Ted, and just how, you look at the messages from this president. The every message is an attack on a perceived enemy. Every, we look at, Doge was looked at as fondly by MAGA people when it was, and the big beautiful bill. There's going to be 10 to 14 million newly uninsured people in the United States. That's a level of cruelty that's kind of hard to imagine. And and I got to take a side note and say, all of you MAGA types who are saying, I didn't think it was going to be May, fuck you to hell and back. Fuck you. There was a guy who owns a construction company. Now, Ted, stay with me on this. Construction companies, what kind of people do they knowingly or unknowingly tend to hire?
Maybe not those who are born in the United States.
Right.
And who are or who are certified to work in the United States.
This guy runs this construction company in Pennsylvania, big construction company, and they raided his company and, expunged a large number of his workers. He can't find anyone to work. And he says, I never thought this would happen. Fuck you. You have no right to complain. None. Zero. Zilch. Shut up and go away. And the same is true of the level of cruelty. And maybe I'm playing into it, Ted. Am I, when I say fuck you to MAGA types who are
well, you are kind of repeating it. Look, I want to put a fine point on it, Scott. I mean,
okay,
when you talk about cruelty, look, there have been cruel policies throughout American history and in recent history. I mean, honestly, Ronald Reagan's budget, for example, kicked millions of college students out of college because they no longer had scholarships. There was the Japanese American internment camps where, not only were people sent to concentration camps, but their property and their businesses were stolen, and they never got them back at the end of World War II. And there was never any reason whatsoever for them to have been interned in the first place. No good logical reason. And there's lots of policies that involve budget cuts, firings. I mean, people, Ronald Reagan fired the air traffic controllers, right? I think, what I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing, having known you for a quarter of a century, is that like what's getting you here is the glee with which it's done. And for example, when Doge was sending out social media postings under Musk and others that are like, we're taking a chainsaw to them, like, fuck them, all these jobs are going to go. And everyone's like, yeah, we're getting rid of the deep state. It's like, okay, so let's just say for the sake of argument that all those jobs needed to be eliminated and that they were all waste. I don't believe that, but let's just say for the sake of argument that they were. You can fire people more in sorrow than in anger. You can say, like, I'm really sorry. This is just necessary for the betterment of we have to save our national budget. We have too much debt. We have to pay down our deficit. Like, I could see that. I could also see you could even do it more kindly. Like, hey, we're going to try to reshuffle people, try to find you a job in a part of the government that is hiring. We'll retrain you. If you need a couple years of college to make that shift, we'll help you out. That's not what this is, right? Like, for example, when you see ICE dragging, it's one thing to say, oh, we're going to have, we don't want illegal people here. If you're not authorized to work, you're going to be deported. Well, that's the law. So that's fine. But, it's one thing to say, okay, we're going to enforce the law that we haven't been enforcing. It's another thing to say, we're going to dress up as goons and drive around in neighborhoods and drag women away from their screaming babies and throw them into a van and beat them up. We're going to make fun of them while we're doing so. And we're going to have, like, the Secretary of Homeland Security pose in front of a cage of grown men stripped down to their underwear, totally devoid of dignity, violating if they were prisoners of war, she would be violating the Geneva Conventions, which prohibit the photography and dehumanization and humiliation of prisoners. In other words, Guantanamo detainees are treated better under international law than she was treating these people, or picking people up. And Obama did this too. send them to countries they've never lived in and have nothing to do with. And you're not choosing France. You're choosing a war zone like South Sudan, where people have never been, and they're likely to be killed because, it's an active war zone. I mean, that's cruelty. It's the gleeful,
right.
It's bullying. It's mean.
Yes.
It's fucked up. It's not just harsh. It's cruel. It's vicious.
Well, and I think, when you gleefully talk about, alligator Alcatraz,
and they put up a sign on the highway that says like an exit, alligator Alcatraz. And people are stopping and taking selfies in front of the sign. That's fucked up.
That is fucked up. And so, and I asked you this morning, I've been wrestling with this. Can we come back from this level of politics? Now, J.D. Vance, the current vice president, seems to me to be, what's the word I'm looking for, Ted? A prick. And really took gleeful. When the confrontation between Trump and Zelensky in the Oval Office, it was J.D. Vance. You're not even grateful. You're not even grateful. You're not even grateful. You're not even saying thank you. You're going to say thank you. You got to say thank you. Say thank you to him. In addition, during the State of the Union address,
I thought Vance had a point there. I mean, Zelensky's been. I mean,
wasn't the time to make it, and it wasn't the way to make it.
It was humiliating. On the other hand, maybe a guy who doesn't wear proper clothes to the White House doesn't deserve any respect because he's not showing any respect.
Well, you wouldn't say that about if Fidel Castro had shown up in his fatigues and his cigar. You would have been fine with that.
I'm not sure.
You would. Sure, you would. But do you remember when they threw out the congressman during the State of the Union address? He was yelling at Trump, and the speaker says, Sergeant Arms, would you please remove that? And Vance is behind him. I'll do it. Get him out of here. Get him the heck out of here. It was just like, no, seriously, watch this guy. It's like he's annoying. He's like the little guy who kind of hired the big guy to be his bully.
He's kind of like the bully. He's kind of like the bully's friend, right? Like
the
bully always has an enabler.
Yeah, this is him. So
like in The Simpsons, right? There's like Nelson who's like, ha, ha! And then there's the other bully guy with the skull and crossbones guy.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what happens with this love? The cruelty seems to be a political movement. I mean, it seems to be, like you said, where I'm going to stand in front of, I'm going to have my picture taken in front of incarcerated people whose crime was to come to this country, and they were here illegally. Okay, fair enough, possibly.
Yeah.
But you still treat people humanely. I mean,
But also that's the thing too, right? Like, if you're just like, it's one thing to say, it's all about like, a lot of Republicans who support Trump are saying all that ICE is doing is enforcing the law. Okay, that's sophistry. I mean, because how you enforce the law is all the difference between a civilized country and an uncivilized country. And so, it's like if a cop pulls you over going 56 and a 55 and shoots you to death, well, he's enforcing the law. That's for sure. He's over enforcing the law. And like the point is, and he's an asshole. And so, like, to say the least, and a murderer. Well, here it's like, if you just say, we're going to deport you, let's just say we said we're going to deport 10 million illegal immigrants, but we're going to contact them. We're going to give them a year notice. We're going to give them each $5,000, $10,000 to get resettled. We're going to like help them transition back to their home country. We'll liaise with their home government. We'll say to make it a smooth process. We put them on passenger jets, like properly, not like cattle cars. We don't detain them in prison camps. If you're worried that they're going to run off, maybe slap a tracking bracelet on their feet or something. But the point is, like, you're going to go, but we're not going to be mean about it, but you got to go. And it's like, so it's like that. That's not really cruel. That's harsh. It's not cruel. And like,
okay,
I think,
fair enough.
And I think that's the difference here. You don't have to be cruel. You don't have to put people in detention camps. You don't have to deprive them of access to counsel. You don't have to make fun of them on social media and go on, give political rallies, dehumanize them. That's what this is about, right? And it's like, and the thing is, I know it's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. When you behave like that, and I think this is the point you're saying, right? Is that like it degrades you as an individual and as a society to behave that way. You become less human.
Yeah. Yes. Well, it becomes less of a culture. It becomes less of, we've worked so hard at defining the other that once you get to that point, I don't know that you come back, Ted. That's what I mean, is that can we come back to the e pluribus unum? We, out of many one, we're going to have arguments like you and I disagree on stuff. Okay. Yeah. How do we get from point A to point B? But we all can agree that we want to get to point B. It's just, how do you get there? And
well, I mean, I don't think we can I don't think we always agree that we want to get to point B. I think a lot of people don't think there should be deportations at all, for example. You know what I mean? But but I do think it's like how you do things matters. I mean, honestly, let's look at this. I'm always criticizing the right, but let's look at the left side of things, right? I mean, how you argue for trans rights matters. And if you just say like, if you tell people like, if you don't like the idea of like a born male to female transitioned person on the girls' swim team and using the girls' locker room, you're a fucking bigot, you're transphobic, you're an asshole, fuck you, shut the fuck up. You can do it that way, which is what my side has been doing. It's not effective, and it just pisses everyone off. I mean, and if you were more, you could still get there the same way and say, look, we really believe this is the right path, but we understand your concerns, and you're bringing up some valid concerns about, like, the disadvantage to girls who are not able to win anymore. It's just the fact that like having a person with a penis walking around the locker room might be a little upsetting. Like, it's not like people who worry about those things are not stupid or crazy. And it's like, to act like they are is like, okay, well, you're just not going to connect with them. So you can still have your point of view. And like, we might not all be on the same, let's get to point B thing, but you can have respect for an opposing point of view and even try to accommodate it, right? Like, well, maybe, for example, in the case of the trans thing, maybe we could have separate bathrooms, for example, for those people. Or maybe we can say there's going to be a separate stall within the girls' room or something, but there's like no conversation going on.
No, it's just screaming and defining and putting the other person in a silo. You talk about cruelty, and we touched on Doge, looking at, and I'm trying not to be cruel, but I think I was, Ted. It's interesting, but I'm thinking about the floods in Texas today and how, again, MAGA, an area that voted overwhelmingly, like 70% for Trump, is going, how could this have happened? How could this have happened? Well, gee whiz, your minions went out and fired the people in mass whose job it was to find this, and the early warning guy was caught up in your MAGA mass of layoffs, and hence you didn't have the information you needed, the information that we took for granted over the last 20 years from the national weather outlets, then this happens. So I can't even imagine the horror of those that family sending kids to camp and then this happening. But this was preventable. This was preventable. This was something, there was a mechanism in place. It reminds me a little bit of when COVID started to spike. The Trump administration had gotten rid of the protocols begun in the Bush administration, by the way, for looking at, we were due for a pandemic. And they were setting up protocols and all that stuff. And the Trump administration got rid of it. And now we're going, how could this have happened? COVID would have happened anyway. Was it preventable? Could the numbers have been diminished? I think somewhat, but maybe not to a significant degree.
Oh, I don't know. If we were going to do masking, I mean, you and I talked about this. I don't understand. And I mean, George W. Bush, he had gotten convened during his presidency a pandemic response team to come up with a plan. It's a great plan. I wish someone had read it after Bush left. Really one of Bush's one of his accomplishments that nobody talks about. And I don't understand if they had followed his plan. As soon as the pandemic started, N95 masks would have started showing up with like civil defense logos at everyone's doors. Instead of us having to source our own masks, like sewing them, grabbing grandma, sewing them,
which were totally. And we knew, Ted, we knew that they were ineffective. We knew that they were ineffective.
They had to be.
Becoming infected. They're very effective, even the grandma sewn ones, if you are infected yourself, from preventing you from spreading it. Mm-hmm. Because we discovered that it was spread through aerosol.
No, it's true. Yeah. But like, Scott, let's talk about the specifics, right? Like, what could have been done differently here? I mean, so the Guadalupe River there in Texas Hill Country, is known as Flash Flood Alley to the locals. I'm not going to comment on why that might be. But it happened last time in 2015, something very similar. So it's not unheard of. The local county there, Kerr County, has an annual budget of about $67 million. They had the ability it was proposed to drop $1 million 1 year on a early warning system. What that would have entailed is, as soon as sensors are triggered, everyone's smartphone would immediately go off and say, "Warning, flood coming your way, get the fuck out of the way." And there would have been sirens. People would have been trained, emergency response responders, the fire department and the police departments, all the local units would have all been trained how to respond and how to deal with this and clear the roads, close the highways, etc. $1 million, right? On a $67 million budget. They chose not to do that. Apparently there was no support from the taxpayers to do it. Now, I guess to their defense, it's probably a pretty poor county, I'm guessing, there in the middle. Texas Hill Country is famously poor. So they probably were like, we don't really want to raise taxes. We can't afford to raise taxes. I get it. But to me, I look at, so DOJ got rid of the National Weather Service guys who are the people who call local law enforcement in these situations. They're gone. So there was no one to do it that way. DOJ got rid of a lot of other people who in the Interior Department who might have been able to handle this, or FEMA, also gone. Meanwhile, we're sending money to Israel, Ukraine, all over the world, $1 trillion a year on the military. $1 million is a drop in the bucket here. I mean, even if you're like from looking at this from a purely rationalist Ayn Rand perspective, that $1 million would save the lives of maybe 100 or 200 people, all of whom pay taxes and are now dead and will never pay any taxes to Kerr County, right?
No, you're right. And that's where the Ayn Rand, if don't spend money unless there's a personal interest involved, is absurd. There is a personal interest here, and I'm not.
The lives of Texans matter.
I'm not such a libertarian to think that government has no function anywhere ever. You're insane if you think that. That's just not practical. So getting back to the floods, getting back to the cruelty, walking back to the America Party, Ted, I guess we should wrap things up. Can you walk cruelty back? Cruelty as a political tool, it's been very effective. It's gotten a bunch of people, Marjorie Taylor Greene all the way up to, name Tommy Tuberville. The fact that it works, will it continue to work? Can it continue to work? I guess, should it? I guess.
It does work. And the question is there ever any accountability? Not in a society that is mean. And fundamentally, American society, we're mean people. We have a mean streak. We don't really, we laugh at like things that are really ugly and cruel, in movies, for example. And it's part of our culture. I think it's part of Anglo-Saxon culture. I think it's our Old West rugged individualistic mentality. I think we're not a very Christian people. And I think it's really sad. I think, from day one, right? Like kids bully each other in school. The parents laugh it off. We've gotten better about it, but ultimately it's not going to work. It's only going to stop working if voters start rejecting these kinds of people and start embracing people who are kinder. Now, whatever you think of his politics, Bernie Sanders is an example of a person who doesn't have a mean streak. He never says anything mean. He doesn't have a mean temperament. He's not intemperate. He is, you know what I mean? Like
angry.
Okay. Yes, I'm angry. I'm angry that 70 people in Texas, including some beautiful children, died for no reason. I'm angry. Does that make me mean? No. I would say that the people, that's righteous anger deployed against the cruelty and stupidity and cheapness of policymakers who could have saved some of these lives, right? Not all of them, but if you could have saved one person, it's worth spending $1 million, right? And we didn't do that. So, yeah, Bernie Sanders might be shrill sometimes, and he might be angry, but he's not mean. And, Elizabeth Warren's not mean. Hillary Clinton is mean. I mean, when she made fun of Gaddafi, we saw, he died. I mean,
and your little dog
a man who's just had a bayonet shoved up his anus on television. Now, the thing is, he might have deserved it, maybe not. But the point is, you just watched a human being die in a horrible way. That's mean.
Agreed. Okay. So,
all right.
But we're not.
No,
we're good.
Here on the DMZ America podcast, we are kind all the time. I don't think I have a mean streak. I mean, I certainly can be.
Oh, there's people.
I have a sharp edge.
Yes, there are some people, I think specific people in our lives who we would not be sad if bad things happen to.
No, that's true. That's true. And, but again, let's say, theoretically speaking, a flamethrower drone were to
always
be
comes down to that,
deployed
man. Always.
Accidentally, let's say, in the service of incinerating and vaporizing the spot where a certain former newspaper publisher might be walking down the street near La Brea tar pits, let's just say. If that were to happen.
Totally random.
Now, would I jump up and down laughing and opening champagne? Yes, I would. But would I do it on television? No, I wouldn't. And that's the difference.
Keep your cruelty private. If we
right.
give you any message at all today, kids.
That's right. That's what Jesus wanted.
That's what he said.
Jesus got angry. He was pissed off at the money changers.
He was pissed off at his disciples. I love that part of the gospel where he pretty much goes, when he does another miracle and they go, "Wow, you can do that?" He goes, "Are you kidding me? Have none of you been listening? You idiots. I said I could do this. How do you not? What words? I can't use smaller words."
Well, he got pissed off at his disciple too. Like, dude, is that really you? Are you really back? Can I put my hand in? Like, okay, go ahead. Stick your fucking finger in my chest, you asshole.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's you. It's like,
we may be paraphrasing.
Little faith, fucker, asshole.
We may be paraphrasing. Just unfair.
No, Jesus definitely. No, he was spicy.
Yeah, but he didn't like revel in his.
But he wasn't
enemies.
mean.
Yeah.
Okay, that's true. All right.
Okay.
So we will let that go. And thank you everyone for joining us. We'll be back when we're back, probably later this week, I imagine, or over the weekend or something like that. Thanks so much for joining us. DMZ America Podcast. Now I think we're going to go to the singing stylings of Scott Stantis.
I don't have a song teed up. Ted, help me.
About to emerge. Da, 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 da. Here we go.
Now you got that song in my head, and it will be there for the rest of the day. Thank you, Ted Rall. Long and lean and tan and handsome, the girl from Ipanema is something. I can't remember the rest of the words. And she walks by, all the guys go, "Oh."